Plain and simple, I refuse to live my life by a label. I refuse to live in fear. I refuse to live my life by your definition of what my life should be like so that you can feel more comfortable. Plain and simple. The mask says it all. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Recycled Mom. All right, so recently my governor in my state has issued a mandatory mask mandate. Sounds weird. A mask mandate requiring everyone to wear a mask inside a public establishment. So, that means if you want to go grocery shopping, you have to wear a mask when you go inside. Now, that may sound completely normal to you, and Darlene, why wouldn't you wear one when you go inside to, when you go out and go anywhere? And so I'm going to explain a little bit of that. And also my beliefs are just a little bit different, with regards to viruses and things like that. Some of you follow me on social media, so you kind of know where my stance is on this whole thing anyway. And if you saw the introduction to my video, you kind of know that I am not going to live my life based on someone else, dictating what I should do, or telling me that if I don't wear this or do this, then you don't care about other people. So I'm going to be addressing that. I do a lot of work here at the Recycled Mom. My beliefs here as a life coach, a mentor, a addictions counselor, dealing with people to drop the labels, drop those masks, if you will, and the facades and the barriers in your life so that we can have meaningful relationships and connections, that we were genuine people, so we can have these real conversations and be real with each other, because masks are a barrier. When you go around right now and the masks, you can't see you can't see their mouths. You can't see this part down. You can't, I know that people say, well, you can smile with your eyes. Believe me, I know. I'm a performer, a singer. I know you can smile and you can communicate with your eyes. I totally get that. And let me tell you a few things too about wearing these masks, because I'm telling you, there's muscles up your face. You can't feel anything. It drives me nuts because I can't understand a lot of what people are saying. And lip reading, sometimes I have to actually look at people's mouths as to what they're saying, and especially teenagers today, I have to look at they mumble and you can't understand what they're saying anyway, and then you put a mask on their face so they can't understand what they're saying. So it's very hard to understand what people are saying anyway. And when I can't hear what someone's saying, what's the natural thing that I do? I lean in. What did you say? And so there's that whole social distancing. I'm in violation of that because, excuse me, I can't hear what they're saying. So it is a huge barrier. I have a problem wearing the mask just with that, the whole psychological barrier right there. Anyway, we've been at this for 12 weeks or so here in the United States, I guess, since it's probably been longer, but as far as shutdown or shelter in place or whatever you want to call this, lockdown, quarantine, isolation, whatever you want to call this, to put a mandatory mask requirement in an executive order, to do it now, I think is a little bit ridiculous, because it's like closing the barn doors after the horses have bolted. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. So this really has nothing to do with, is it constitutional or it's about rights or whatever, which I do feel that there's some of that there too. But it's plain ridiculous to do it now. If you wanted to do a mask mandate, it should have been done weeks ago. So we're talking about, like viruses and all this stuff about it being so infectious and all this stuff, okay? So we've never done this before. We've had many infectious pandemics, if you will. So like, just 2 years ago, we had a very, very bad influenza season. And I believe it was 60 or 80,000, the numbers keep changing with the CDC, 60 or 80,000 people that had died from influenza. The year I was born, we were in the middle of a Hong Kong flu. Have you ever heard of that? So it started from, I think it was like the late summer of 1968. I want to say it was July is when it first kind of started. The pandemic started in July of 1968, and it went through until 1970. Okay, it went through 2 seasons, but it went through, it had 2 waves, okay? But it was an ongoing pandemic. So that means when it started, and I don't know when the actual first peak hit and when it actually arrived in the United States. I think it arrived in the United States like the late 68 into 69. But we had Woodstock, we put a man on the moon, we had school, we didn't shut down any of those things, we didn't cancel Woodstock, although I think they had talked about it, but they didn't. We didn't cancel the moon, okay? We didn't cancel any of these other things, we didn't cancel schools, we didn't put on masks, we didn't shut down businesses, we didn't shut down the world, okay? And when Hong Kong flu happened, I believe it killed 1 million people worldwide, and in 100,000 people in the United States. Okay, which is kind of what we're looking at right now. I think we hit 100,000 people or more in the United States for COVID. And I know that that's been 3 months or so, maybe 4. I forget when we actually started with our first death. I say all of that to say that, we have been through pandemics before. Okay, and we live with viruses and microbes and organisms and everything every day, and there's a risk of all of this every day. We live with these things, and we don't do the things that we have done in this. And so I that's why I feel that all of this has been overkill. It has been I'm going to say ridiculous. There are 7 known coronaviruses, so we have been around coronaviruses before. This one is affecting elderly. Okay, and let's get to that, because the statistic I found on May 26th from Forbes online, okay, and the statistic was 42% of coronavirus deaths are from 0.6 of the population. Okay, and so that's total US. And I thought, okay, total United States coronavirus deaths, okay, so that's 100,228 of the day that I'm doing this video. That is the total death count of that day, all right? And 42% of those coronavirus deaths are from 0.6 of the population, all right? So 0.6 of the population is elderly people, all right? And that's a small number, but 42% of them are the ones that have died. In my state, I'm in Virginia, okay? I did a study, so I'm going to say, okay, let's see what's in my state. So I went to the Virginia Department of Health website, and on the day that I'm doing this video, we had 1,370 deaths in my state. Okay? Now, when you click on the tab that says Outbreaks on that website, it gives you a breakdown of the types of outbreaks. So it would say, when you click on it, it would break it down, would say long-term care facilities, and it would say prisons, and it would say some other things, okay? And long-term care facilities is a huge number of cases and then deaths. And the deaths as of that date, the day that I'm doing this video, were 779 deaths. So, ladies and gentlemen watching this video, 56.8% of the deaths in Virginia are in nursing home facilities. That population of nursing home residents, okay, that is 0.3% of the population of Virginia. Okay, there's 28,000 residents. 28,000 residents in nursing homes, Virginia, and 779 of them have died. And again, like I've said, why are we doing all of this overkill and these mandatory mask wearing for 99% of the population, when less than 1% of the population are the ones that are the most vulnerable and the ones that are dying. There is a very, very low chance that people my age, the majority of Virginians, are not going to get this. So in the county that I live in, there are only 350 cases out of 89,313 people. Okay? Now, I know every single person hasn't been tested. I get it. But still, when you're talking about a span of 12 weeks, and we have 0.3% of the population that has been tested, or that have tested positive, 23 have gone, of those cases, have gone to the hospital, and 4 have died. Okay? This is a very mild virus. So definitely, people who are senior citizens and people who are in elderly or who are in long-term care facilities and nursing homes, getting a cold is a very serious deal. It's very serious. So yes, coronavirus is very serious for you. Okay? Me getting a cold, I'm probably going to be okay. I am not stopping living my life. I am taking precautions. I wash my hands. I take care. People who I visit, I've gone to the grocery store. I have stood on my little X, and if I've gotten carry-out food if I've gone somewhere. I have gone to visit friends, though. I have not stopped socializing, but I just don't, then again, my circle has always been kind of small anyway. And so what I don't like is the accusations of people that are saying that if you don't wear a mask, that you don't care about people. That, the people are saying that I wear a mask because I'm protecting you. I'm wearing a mask not for me, but for you. And so there's this whole message going around with the mask. So let's talk about this for a second. It's almost like when you're buying into a message. And the message, it's a symbol. This mask is a symbol, and it's a symbol of conformity. Not individualism, conformity. You're buying into a message, a symbol of this is for the greater good. This mask is being shown as a symbol of it's almost being seen as a status symbol of superiority, kind of like a symbol of righteousness, kind of. That's what I'm seeing. It's bringing about these attitudes. These attitudes of well, you need to have yours on too, because I'm putting mine on because I bought into the message. I bought into the message that I'm doing this for you, and we're all having to wear it, and I'm putting this on, and you didn't buy into it with me. And so now you're not wearing it. How come you're not wearing it? And then out comes the meanness that I'm seeing. People are getting mad that I'm not wearing a mask. And now come out the accusations. You don't care about people. You don't care about if people live or die. I've heard that. The criticisms and the judgment come out. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. How come? I'm not conforming. And so this symbol, this conformity is taught as a virtue. It's taught as a virtue in our schools. Okay, schools are taught you conform to fit in the box, stand in line, follow the rules. Society does it as well. We want you to be this way, think like we think, do this, get on the bandwagon, power to the people, or whatever, because there's all these little trendy things that come out. If you don't, that means you don't care about these people or this group or this cause or this thing. It's taught in our churches, submission. If you don't submit to authorities that are above you, obedience to parents is always a good thing. But it's taught as submission, or if you don't conform to our way of doing Christianity. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Churchianity. Okay, because it's so, if you don't conform to our way of doing it, so that means if you're not, maybe, women stay at home, women don't go out and get a job, women stay at home, but that doesn't mean that, like if you have a job, well, no, it's okay if you work, but if you work outside of the home, it's just going to be harder for you because at this particular church, they have Bible studies during the day. And all of the women work that don't work, they're stay-at-home moms, or they're just stay-at-home or homekeepers, and they get to go to the Bible studies and hang out with each other. But there's no Bible studies at night for the women who work during the day, so they never get to take advantage of the Bible studies. You see what I'm saying? So conforming, it's a subtle thing. It's a subtle message. So if you don't conform to our thing, you don't quite fit in. So you're not really submitting. So there's this subtle pressure. So you put your mask on, or so you subtly do this so that you can kind of fit in and conform to our thing. So it's taught, and it's taught subliminally, it's covert, and so there's a submission kind of thing. You're submitting to this kind of authority kind of thing, the bigger message. And so even in our churches, where churches and even our government have kind of put God and government on the same level, even though you'll hear the message, there's separation of church and state, right? There is, but it's funny because the government has used the Bible, and they have used scripture like Romans 13, for instance, to remind Christians that it is a good thing to obey the governing authorities, because the Bible says that in Romans 13. And you should do that, because if you are obeying the governing authorities, you're obeying God. Not obeying the governing authorities, you would be disobeying God. So they've put these both on the same level, and there's this conflict there. Well, I want to obey God, so that means I've got to obey the government. And even if the government is doing this weird thing that I'm not exactly sure I should be doing, and the government, and they're overreaching their power, and our governors are rogue governors, and they're making all these laws and not really following these things, whatever, then, but I still have to follow them, because if I were to disobey them, then that means I would be disobeying God. So there's this big, huge thing, this rift here. And so if I disobey, well, then I'll be disobeying God, because now we have fear. And so now what the government has done is used scripture to beat you into submission, and now they are ruling by fear. And now they've made fear a virtue. And so now they've ruled by fear, okay? So this is why I have a problem with all of this. And she's like, Darlene, how did you get from a mask all the way down to fear? But I mean, this is why I tried to do this, tried to show you that there is a progression here, because there's this overall message that everyone has bought into. You're putting it on, it's for the greater good. We need to remember that nothing has changed from yesterday, from 2 months ago, from 6 months, 2 years, 10 years, from 100 years ago. Nothing has changed except perspective. Okay? Perspective is the only thing that has changed. And maybe mob mentality, maybe mob mentality has changed, and everyone has kind of just, everyone's riding it together. And that's why I'm not going along with the group mentality on all of this. I'm standing back, and I'm watching, and we have a lot of mental health recovery to gain ground, and so my channel is here, and I am here to help regain the ground, to help people find that hope and purpose again, to help recover what's been lost, just to find that place of solace again, and peace, and finding the place to I guess land that plane and put your feet down, because this whole last 10-12 weeks have just, everybody feels like they've just been wandering and floating, and so it's time to land the plane. And if you feel like you're looking for a place to land, you can come here. Okay, and you can send me a message or leave me a comment, and I will get back to you and respond to you and help you out any way I can. Okay, and so until next time, peace, love, healing, y'all. Take care.